It's been 20 years since you've been in the field of architecture. That's pretty long, according to what I see it as. Can you take us through the journey of this 20 years?
Yeah, it's been a very exciting journey, and there's been many interesting milestones, and it kind of started with my training, like immediately after college.
Right.
I started enjoying this field more when I started working
Mm-hmm.
rather than my college years. And I went to Kamal Malik's office as an intern, and it was like a very exciting environment, and he was like totally into his designs, and his designs were very different that time, and very amazing work happening in the studio, and it was just very exciting experience. And I think I learned so much over there in terms of design, and how to create a very interesting spatial experiences. And I think that is what kind of molded me as as a designer, and paying attention to a lot of different details, paying attention to journey through various spaces and various environments, however small the space may be.
Right.
But that is what really kind of creates, so to say, a foundation
Yeah.
long journey. And I think that's what happened there. Also,
Uh-huh.
another very very important aspect is that a lot about design begins on the drawing board, and that is that is that is what I learned over there, that there was a lot of importance given to drawings, and a lot of work was happening on the drawing board, and with lots of sketches, etc. At that time we were not really having too many visualization softwares that time, and so sketches were the medium of communication in terms
Right.
of the three-dimensional space. And I think that's what really kind of added a lot of value as a designer into me. And so that was my first job. And then as I started growing, I really wanted to expand vision into other segments. My
Mhm.
large experience over there was architecture, and I wanted to learn a lot more about interiors as well. And I also realized that architecture was very slow moving. Like the projects were really spanned across a very long time frame. And what excited me about interiors is also that you could really see the outcome within a couple of months. So I was really excited about learning about interiors. And so that time, Nitin Parulekar was the market leader, and I thought that it was the best thing to do to join like a market leader and
Right.
learn what you can from the practice. And I think it was a very very rewarding journey.
How would you put it in terms of when you started your studio and where you stand today? If you had to just have a relative comparison to the two different sides.
Uh, it it was very challenging
Uh-huh.
when I started with my studio, because you just realize that even though you're a good designer, being a good designer is a different thing, and being a good business person is a completely
Right.
different thing together. And so, as a designer, I would say that it was very difficult for me into the process of getting into different departments, because to run a different business, to run any business,
Mhm.
one will have to go through various, master all the departments, that what's
Right.
happening in marketing, what's happening eventually in the final product that is going out, what's happening in accounts, which is like a key thing, what's
Right.
happening, like what's happening with system, because our business is very closely connected uh,
Yeah.
to technology, because all the work happens on software. So I think these are all very diverse aspects which you have to handle, and really understand as a business person as to how to manage and strike a balance. and still generate good products. So I think that's one aspect which is challenging. And yes, I would say you definitely learn and pick up over a period of time. And yes, every lesson comes with a cost. So you have to just it's just a journey, where you have to go through various experiences and learn.
Specific area of the business that was the biggest struggle for you, personally speaking?
Yes, I think marketing has been
Okay.
like a struggle, because it like I was really into refining the spaces and making them perfect, but talking about
Right.
our design philosophy, that was not really something where I had paid a lot of attention and focus. And I do understand that that is something which is very critical for any business to
Right.
really talk about what they're doing and how much attention they are paying to all their projects, what level of detailing is happening in their projects. And I think that's really what is going to help other people know about our services and products. So I think that's something which is very important, and I took a long time to learn
Right.
that.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
And it's something which also keeps evolving, like sometimes some years back there was no social media, there were no platforms where you could really talk about it. Now we have like your platform,
Right.
where we are talking about projects, we're discussing about processes. There were no other opportunities available where we could really come out and talk
Right.
about our needs and all that goes into making a project a success.
Yeah. Come with. Uh, I'm sure you must have had your own fair share of mistakes. And if I were to ask, thinking of these mistakes in hindsight, would you be able to point out at some mistake that you could be like, okay, I could have avoided this, only if I had done it a little differently? Is there something that you could share on those lines?
Uh, yes, I think in every business, there will always be things, which when you look back, you will feel that, okay, I could have done certain things differently.
Right.
And I think, in my case, I would say that I could have done better planning uh, from the business side
Yeah.
of. I was a lot involved into making every project like a great project in terms of design and delivery and everything. But what is also important is to pay equal amount of attention to the business side of it, and then you can really design like a great business,
Right.
um, uh, which is more rewarding, I would say. And there are lots of different aspects to any business, and it just helps if you kind of know certain things. And I think what I think that is also partly rooted into our educational system, where in schools and colleges don't really teach a lot of different aspects, which are involved in a business. And also, when you are working in anyone's company,
Right.
there are certain aspects which you can never learn. So you can learn it only by starting your journey. And that's what I think schools can focus on, is like really teaching certain aspects of business to every creative field,
Right.
not only architecture, but any field which is creative, because more likely than other fields, creative people are more likely to not get into the business aspect so much. And I
Right.
think that can really backfire in various ways. And rather than learning through various by making certain mistakes, if I think that becomes part of the
Right.
educational system, it can really help, because on my own to really understand the financial aspects, the tax related aspects, accounting related aspects, admin aspects were also quite difficult
Right.
to understand. Even though we, if you had good experience, you would learn client management, you would learn how to understand design, create great spaces, plan all your workflow and everything. But still, there are certain aspects of business which are really
Right.
important. And I think that's where business should be like a subject in all the fields, not only architecture, but all fields, I said. So I think that is one thing which I would do differently, that if I knew better when I started my practice as to how to plan everything and, make it a success by design.
Now, considering, like, I mean, as you suggested that, it would have been great had it been covered in the formal education. Uh, Now, considering the scenario today, I mean, it's not really happening at the moment.
Yeah.
Now, what would you suggest today? Like, if one had to really get that kind of an exposure, considering that architecture is going to teach you what it's teaching,
Yeah.
right? So, what would you say? What would you suggest one to?
There are two, three things. I think one thing for sure needs to happen is, and many colleges are slowly starting that is, especially in our field, it's really different than a lot of other professions. Like being a lawyer or a doctor or a CA, it's very different. And so, professional training is extremely important. I think what needs to happen is that maybe from first year of college, they really need to give, maybe at least 2 months of professional training where kids are going out and, working with someone to really get an idea about the
Right.
profession. And simultaneously also, there are various small courses on business
Yeah.
available which one can do to, just kind of not lose focus, and
Right.
to balance out that aspect between creativity and business. I think that's something which is important. And unless and until you're really going out and working with someone, you may not know the constraint that are there in running a design practice. I think it would really help the kids, if they really go out and do professional training.
Right. When they're starting out, they need to find their niche first, or even the very fact that they need to have a niche in the architectural space, at least.
Yes, I do believe that having a niche really helps, and it is in our in creative field. It kind of happens automatically, in the sense that if you're really good at design, and design is something that you are, either born with, and then you can, give yourself a little training and you will be a good designer. So that also makes you different,
Right.
with, as compared to a lot of other designers. I think every designer um, has their own niche, their own style, and what happens is that as we start interacting with different people, project wise, uh, then automatically the process starts to uh, expand. I'll explain you with a little example. So, you may have your own style of design, but at the end of the day, like when you interact with, if you want all your projects to look different as well, in
Right.
addition to have a certain signature style, I think that's where a client comes into picture, because you are kind of designing for them. And if we start paying a little more attention to what a client is really asking for within a space, then it could be, like a good balance, where you can bring your values about your expertise into your niche, and marry it to the vision that the client is having to give a product which is different. Otherwise, what I have seen is that if you are too focused on having a certain niche, all your projects may start to look very same.
Right.
Like, but it is also important to bring in that uniqueness to each project, and I think that can be achieved by having this kind of a balance where you may have your niche, but you are kind of marrying with the project brief as well. and
Right.
that what will eventually create an outcome which is exciting, different, and all your projects may start to look very different than each other.
Would you say you picked a niche for yourself as well? Any specific niche for yourself?
Uh, I I think yeah I think if we look at all our projects, there is immense sense of detailing,
Right.
and um, the way in which the detailing is happening is somewhere there is a common thread
Okay.
connecting all our projects. But at the same time, how it is expressed in terms of materials um, is is a little different in all the projects, and I think uh, that's what kind of maintains a little bit of excitement into each projects, and also focus on detail kind of gives every project a unique identity. um, like um, like if you look at our project at Gill House, so if you look at that project, it is very different than any commercial building, where the client was also very clear in their vision that they wanted to create a destination where art meets business, and that kind of brought about a completely different flavor
Right.
to their design. I think client being very clear in their vision also helps project and designers quite a lot, because then they can really focus all their attention on creating that particular experience
Right.
that is desiring. So I think attention to detail and really create um, different details while maintaining that attention is what we would say is our niche.
Would you say that every architect has their own design philosophy, or they need to have a design philosophy of their own?
Having a design philosophy is important, and it's what makes it exciting as well. Like for us, I think what we really want to do is, in addition to create like a space which is exciting, and like we want to create spaces which create emotional connect with the end user, and that will so that's kind of deeply rooted into this thing where we really want to give importance to the end user as well, and
Right.
what their expectation is out of that space, and what they really want to experience from a particular space. And it is not only about what we want to do as designer. Like many a times we see is that this is my style, and then I do only this way. So we, while we want to have a style, we want to sort of marry it to a certain vision, and that I believe that it is only when you can really create spaces where little larger spectrum of people can really connect to, and
Right.
they can really feel that sort of connect to any space, or create memories around that particular space. And what we've been doing is, many a times we've really tried going back to the space and really observe how it is being used, and
Right.
whether what we were thinking at the time of designing is that really coming through
Right.
as
Having such a wide experience in this field of architecture, would you think your approach towards design has evolved with time? Uh, what would you say?
yes, I think that's what happens is that uh, with time and experience, you start looking at different experiences and different aspects very differently. And I definitely think that there's been um, a lot of difference in what I used to think earlier and what am I thinking now. And I think it kind of like having experience expands your vision, and somewhere it enhances looking at a project more 360 degrees than a certain tunnel vision. And I think that
Right.
that's what changes with time. And also with experiences, your details etc becomes a lot more refined. And
Right.
like I would like to mention certain things, that how you use materials, and
Mhm.
how different materials, when there is a change of material within different planes of any object or a space, I think that plays a very important role. And somewhere such aspects you may not know when you have little experience, and it
Right.
comes over many years of experience.
Right.
And I would really like to say that this method of kind of going back to your projects and
Right.
keeping up with the end users and really understanding how their experience
Mhm.
has been using the space over the year kind of helps you also understand like what worked and what did not work. So if you do not really have a high-headed approach, is that what we did was the best. And
Yeah.
and really actually asking questions, whether the end user felt that, and if not, what really happened, really
Mhm.
helps you eliminate a lot of mistakes which would have happened while designing. And I think a good example is spaces that last, um, details that last.
Uh, every entrepreneur has their own way of staying updated with multiple things that they would need just to survive or to grow in their space.
Right.
So, what would you say is your methodology of being updated with the latest trends and to grow as well? Could you share some resources that you rely on?
Yes, definitely. I have been quite. We've been doing a lot of inter. So there are various aspects. I think one aspect is yes, our own field, which is say design, and the other aspect is business and life in general.
Right.
And it also adds a lot of value into you as a designer. So I think when it comes to design, we are continuously keeping track of everything new in terms of materials, products, furniture. So a lot of things have moved online. A lot of things were already online before COVID, and post COVID, lots of things have moved
On
on.
the moon.
And in fact, it was quite exciting. Like we all these webinars that has
Right.
a lot of them have been very exciting and very educational. And earlier it was difficult that sometimes there is no time to go and attend something, so you wouldn't really, like, if something is happening in Delhi, you're not always going to be it's not always going to be possible to travel to Delhi and attend that particular event. And I think what happened during COVID is that everything has moved online, and I think some of the things will permanently remain online.
Right.
And so I think it's very convenient then to just go and attend.
Has really worked for you.
Yeah, I mean, we there are a lot of websites which are product websites, and there is a lot of content, design content, being posted on a very regular basis, like Arc Daily or Rakhi
Right.
Product. So
Right.
we really give a lot of insights into what's really happening in our field in terms of not only products but what other designers are doing, what kind of projects are coming out, what has been design coffee in all those projects. So it really is very exciting to go through it, and I think going through it is extremely important. And I think in our studio also, as a practice, what we've done is the moment there is a little time, we insist on, not only me but everyone in the studio and going through some of these things, because it just, totally, it gives an opportunity to research, it gives an opportunity to kind of go back to what we've already done and
Right.
explore newer ways of doing it, be it in terms of technology, materials. Like I've always been a lot into different materials, and I really like to visit and touch and feel all various materials. And you come to my studio, seeing all the stacks of marbles that are there in the studio. So I think that's really important, and it's really probably most exciting part of our business, design business. At the same time, I also feel that there are lots of podcasts, and I go through a lot of YouTube videos as well. And this has been very exciting. So it's not only design that I keep listening about, but I really watch a lot of people talk about their journey.